What's up, friends, and welcome to another 6-1-indie dev interview. My name is Kyle with 6-1-indie, and alongside with me from the 6-1-indie PD fans, I just made that up on the spot. Becca, how you doing?
Hey, I'm good.
You can tell where my mind space is currently. But joining us today is a super talented dev who's making one of our showcase games that we showed off today. Vladimir from please forgive me if I say the name of the studio wrong. Morteshka?
In Russian it's called martyoshka, but it's a difficult word even in Russian because it's a pun, actually. I can tell you
Oh,
about that
okay.
if you're interested.
Sure,
Yeah,
sure, sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
thank you for inviting us to your showcase once again, and thank you for having me in the interview. Glad to be here
Absolutely.
and answer the
Yeah.
questions.
We're super excited to learn more about One-Eyed Likho. And but first, before we get into the game, we want to get to know you a little bit more. And what's your history with video games, and how'd you become a game dev?
I'm a game developer for quite some time, maybe 10 years or something. I don't really know exactly. So I started making Flash games during the era. Maybe you remember the time when Newgrounds and Armor games were prominent in the internet. So I'm a developer from that time. I started to hop on that hype train. And actually, I made one small game, I sold it, and then I managed to get a permanent position as a software developer in a game development studio in my hometown called Perm. So from that time onward, I was working as a software developer. Then I became a senior software developer, then product manager, and in the end, I decided to go indie when I got some funds. I was making my first game, The Mooseman, parallel to the job. So I released it, got some funds from the release, and then I was able to make the second game, Black Book. So now I'm on the third game, and I'm now full time like an indie studio person developer, you may say. Yeah, so I opened
That's
that
awesome.
studio. Martyoshka hired some guys from like all around, and we're still rolling. Hope we'll be able to make the fourth game after that.
Awesome. Yeah, and something you brought up your two previous titles. Every single one is so visually striking.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
thank you.
what is that like a very big emphasis on when you're making games? Is you want something that's visually like eye catching?
Well, sure, we want to make something unique, you know. With every game, we're always facing this dilemma of what to make so that the players will get some kind of unexpected new experience. And the visual is definitely one of the components for that aim. Uh, but usually it's not just like, we want to make some striking visuals like hyper realistic or groundbreaking. We want to make firstly something unique, and secondly something that we can manage to make. We're always cutting corners because it's a small team, or we're always underhanded, so everyone like jack of all trades. So we have to make some kind of a compromise. For example, the Mooseman was a silhouette game, and the animation was a rotoscoping animation, like in Prince of Persia, because it was easy. I could film myself walking around the place, and then just drew around the silhouette and use this in the game. Same thing in Black Book. It was like low poly graphics. It was kind of easy to make, and now it's black and white, so it's still cutting corners because we don't have to paint the textures. Yeah, so it's always a compromise, but we're trying to keep it like stylish and
Mm-hmm.
recognizable, maybe even for someone who played our previous games.
Yeah. With One-Eyed Liko, the perspective is changing to a first person. Um, is
Yeah.
that any more challenging than creating a Black Book or Moose Man from the way that camera is set up?
Well, it turned out to be quite a challenge indeed, because Black Book was always like a fixed camera. You have to make one a scene, you can see it all the time, and just a little bit of sway of camera maybe. In the one-eyed Likho, the player can look all around 360. So you have to spend quite a lot more time to make the location polished, to fix all the holes, because uh, you think everything is done, then you make like 100th playthrough of your game, and you see bad things, bad work everywhere. Here is a hole, here is a bug, here is a font that should be fixed, something like that. I'm remembering a meme on Twitter that one of the developer made. So what's POV of the developer playing his games? It's like that. You run your game and you see low quality everywhere. You want to fix it immediately. Yeah.
We've
So
noted.
answering your questions,
Sorry.
it was of course more difficult than previous games.
Yeah. So, I noticed that in all of your games, there's a little bit of mythology kind of mixed in. Can you tell us what the inspiration is behind that, and what we might expect in Likho?
Yeah, so our games are all based on mythology or on folklore, and we're trying to stay as authentic as possible. First thought that was like the base of all this mythology and folklore work was that we have to make something unique, as with graphics. So nobody touched these mythology themes from local people where I'm from. So we decided to make a game about that. It turned out that people actually liked the story, and we decided to stick to the formula and continue making Black Book. And with One-Eyed Likho is kind of the same story, because it's based on Russian folk tale, and the Russian folk tales are usually depicted in kind of cutesy way, like Disney style, maybe something like that. And in reality, the Russian folk tales were rather grim, like tales from Brothers Grimm,
Mm.
uh, and all these harsh corners are usually smoothed out. So we've decided to make it also very authentic, like to the letter. If you play the game in Russian, they say the same lines that they say in the fairy tale in the right places. Surely there are many more lines than in the fairy tale, because we have to make at least a couple of hours of gameplay. But yeah. So with One Likho, it's the story about these guys that went to this strange hut where they encounter Likho. Likho is a monster that is actually an embodiment of evil fate in these folk stories. And then they have to escape this Likho and run away with that. So we started making this game, and first we thought to make short, maybe half an hour experience, uh, just to um, make something different as compared to Black Book, because we grew kind of burnout after the 3 years of making that game.
Hmm.
But when we started developing Likho, when we started to research the theme, it turned out that the motif in this folk tale, like these guys come into a lair of a giant, and then they gouge his eyes. So it's a motif called blinding of a giant. So this motif dates back even to Homer's Odyssey, and possibly even further. I've read some researches that take it back to Paleolithic ages or something like that. So it turned out that we have quite, I should say, a responsibility to depict the story in a good way, to represent all these cultural like layers that are included in this folk tale. So spent a lot of time on this game, and it's still like almost a year planned of development.
Sure. Um, I'm sure a lot of that, upcoming development time has to do with some fine tuning of the puzzles. Because when I see a game that has puzzles in it, I can't fathom how developers create puzzles.
Yeah,
Like what it for what I Lico on the Steam page, you tout fire based puzzles
yeah,
to
yeah.
burning things to solve them. What was the starting point for that kind of idea to use fire in puzzles, and what comes first, like the solution, or like I just really want to know, how do you make puzzles?
It's definitely not easy coming up with something like new. If you want to make something new, it's always difficult. You have to make a lot of like things and then throw them away because they are not very well executed mostly. So where the idea came from? First, we wanted to make like a classic psychological horror from the ongoing start of One Night Likho. So we started making the lantern, this classic horror lantern from indie horrors. We made it. It turned out not so fun. So we thought what we can make more unique or something like that, and we remembered this mechanic from Visage or uh, maybe Medicine, where you have a photo camera, you make a flash, and a monster is seen in the distance. Then the light goes out. It's always kind of scary, horrifying experience, really. So we decided to implement that in our game, but the setting is different. There are no photo cameras in 19th century in folk tales. So the matches came up to mind, and it was kind of cool. This flash, flash of light that emanates from the player gradually, and then maybe you see some monster, and then it falls back, and no one is there. So that's the starting idea, and then we developed it. Look, well, what can we do with matches? When we can burn things. What what can be cool with things? Maybe some puzzles, and yeah, that goes on and on. And one time we even made some very systemic puzzles. Like you have these things that you can around place over there, then connect with some ropes and burn it. But in the end, it turned out not so fun for adventure horror story, so we cut it out, and the puzzles right now are not actually rather simple, because we don't want to interrupt the flow of the game. We want the player to like progress through the story, enjoy the story, and enjoy the atmosphere of the game firstly, and then the
As a big
puzzles.
as a big dum dum, I appreciate that. Puzzles are not like it takes a lot of focus for me, but I do enjoy puzzle games, but knowing that it's not gonna like have me pulling hair out of my head and
Yeah.
really have me immersed in the atmosphere of the game, I'm super excited for that.
And designing these puzzles is really difficult, yeah. So I'm not the person to answer that question. How you design really good puzzles?
Sure, yeah.
Puzzles in our game are really like easy going from the development standpoint. So they're like cocoon level, or maybe I don't know, inside level. It's still not our level.
Yeah.
We're getting the experience to make something like that.
That's awesome. Yeah. What goes into I know you touched on briefly about using the fairy tale and the folk tale for the basis of this. What goes into crafting that into a narrative and just doing narratives in games? Like uh similar to puzzles, I just when do you start making a narrative? Is that like the first thing you start with? You start with the look? Like what's like the game plan of developing a game like this?
Well, I think it depends. It depends on the developer. From our standpoint, usually we come up firstly with the setting. So, where the story takes place, what feeling, what we want to evoke from the player. For example, is this a horror story? Then, when does it take place? Or what world does it take place? This is the first step. When you like set that in stone, you can think about what's the main story beats. Maybe it's based on something like our story, Likho. It's folk tale, so then we evolve, and like like making a game, it's usually different versions. So you write first one version, then you throw it out usually, then you make second. And with Liho, it was like 5 scripts, I think, before we like agreed. So okay, this will be the final story of the game. We'll make it. From one part of this decision is because the story was kind of good, and the second part because we're running out of time, so we have to settle on something.
I like that answer. It's yeah, it's like that's great because we've all been there.
Yeah, yeah.
I wanted to ask, I saw that you guys got to be part of Tiny Teams. Congrats on that, by the way. That's a
Thank
really
you.
great festival. We love the folks over there. I was just wondering, based off of the demo that you guys released, how players are liking it so far, what they're thinking. I know we were recording this a little earlier than the actual showcase, so it's only been a couple weeks since Tiny Team, but what have people been thinking so far?
Well, generally we have positive reviews, but there are some things that people do point out that should be improved in the game. So we're planning to do that. For example, some puzzles maybe not as straightforward as I told you before.
Mm.
There are some things that could be improved in the level design. For example, people maybe lost somewhere. So yeah, generally the reviews are positive, but the feedback that we got is kind of good, because there are points that we can, evolve, improve, and yeah. So uh, I think it's like that.
Good.
Awesome. And before we go, Vladimir, I'd like to ask everyone of our devs this question. I will preface this: there is no right or wrong answer, so don't feel like you're. I don't know what. Whatever answer is great. um, we ask everybody, what does indie mean to you? Like, what does being an indie dev mean to you?
Yeah, that's a great question, because indie game nowadays is many different things. You can be AAA developer, or a small branch of a AAA developer, and still be considered as an indie studio. For me, indie studio is about making something different. So it's something that no one made before. It's treading these unknown roads of game development, taking some risks, and rolling with that, and accepting the risk of your game being not as, pop culture as every other game could be. So for me, it's like that. So it's something unique. It's something different, and maybe stylish. It should be stylish, right?
Absolutely, style is absolutely needed for sure, and One Eyed Likho has that in spades. Um,
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us, Vladimir, and once again for allowing us to show it off in the showcase. For people watching this who are excited to play One Eyed Likho, where can they play it, and when can we expect to play the final game?
Well, you can certainly play the demo version that is on Steam right now. So please do that and leave a review or feedback in the discussion section if you want to tell us something about the game. And the game will be released, I think, in first half of 25th year. I don't know exactly when, because it's difficult to plan things like that.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
But please add the game to your wish list, and you'll get an
Please
email when
do.
we run.
Yeah.
Wish listing helps a tremendous deal, so please make sure to
Yeah.
wish list the game, as well as all the other games that we had in the showcase. If you want to check out all the other dev interviews we have surrounding the showcase, please check out our YouTube channel. Right here, we have it in a full playlist, as well as the showcase itself. Please go watch that one so you can check out the One Eyed Likho trailer, as well as all of the other incredible games that we got to showcase, as well as sixoneindie.com for a full rundown of every game as well. Remember to stay safe out there. We love you very much, and remember to play more indies. Bye.